What is up, guys? Dirk here. Happy Monday. So this week is going to be a very big week in terms of news because we have the inflation data coming out on Tuesday and we have the FOMC, the interest rate decision in the US, coming out on Wednesday. And I think the market has been going sideways for the last couple of days ahead of that news. And that news is probably going to cause some sort of major market move. And the question is going to be in which direction. So in today's video, I'm going to look at the weekly candles, the weekly chart of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the stock markets since we have just started a new week. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to subscribe down below. Click that notification bell after you do so you do get future updates. And if you appreciate this content, I would appreciate it if you smash the like button, turn it blue, because it helps the YouTube algorithm send this video out to more people so more people can watch it and more people can benefit from that. So smash the like button. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's dive over into the weekly chart over here of Bitcoin. As you can see, the last couple of weeks, there's been very little happening. It's been very low activity kind of weeks, very small range, just going sideways after that big drop that we had in November. Okay, so as we can see clearly, we are below the 50-week, we are below the 200-week moving average, and technically that is just in a downtrend on this weekly time frame until we can at least reclaim this. So for now, any movement even back up to 19 or 20,000 can still just be a short-term squeeze or a little bit of a bear market rally before getting another sell-off. There is still more downside potential until we can reclaim this 200-week moving average. And just adding some of these markings back on the chart, you can see there is still this weekly fair value gap around the $12,000 level. It is also that historic support and resistance level where I think we are still likely to touch that at some point unless we can get reclaims here to the upside and get some sort of bullish confirmation, which only starts really if we can reclaim the breakdown level, but even better, the 3-day 50 moving average, which is around $20,000. That's why I'm saying anything under $20,000, even small rallies here, that could just end up being sold off again with a new leg down and a final low yet to come. But if we reclaim that 3-day 50 moving average, and even better, if we reclaim this 200-week moving average around 24,200, that is when things start to get much more interesting for the bulls once again. Until then, we just have to wait and be patient and see what is happening. It is, of course, also the 12th of December, so we're getting closer and closer to most of the Western world just shutting down and taking time off for these holidays. And that also means that generally trading tends to slow down quite a bit because a lot of the big players end up closing off the year. The institutions, the big funds, they wind down their trading over these holidays. The liquidity becomes a lot thinner. And while we can sometimes get Christmas rallies, in general, we can also just expect a lot of sideways trading for the next couple of weeks because there just isn't much activity in the markets happening right now. So in terms of Bitcoin, very simple. We need to reclaim $20,000 for the bulls to start showing potential. And until then, anything could still end up being sold off. And there is still downside risk potentially into the $12,000 level unless we reclaim that $20,000 at minimum. So heading over to the Ethereum weekly chart, you can see a similar thing over here. We are still under the 200-week moving average here in red. We're under the 50 moving average, obviously, here in blue on the weekly chart. And this technically still means that the trend on this weekly chart is bearish. And until we at least get a reclaim here of this 200-week moving average, we need to close back above it and ideally get back above this little red box that I have over here. So we need to get back above $1,500 in my opinion with the weekly close before we can start to consider more bullish upside. And then of course we have to get back above the 50-week moving average before the bulls really have a chance. Until then, you can see how we're hanging here under this level. And there is still risk of further downside at this point in time. We could still see a sell-off, especially if we can't even reclaim the 200-week moving average. Also, I've been saying this for weeks now already, Bitcoin has already traded below its June lows. Ethereum has not done so yet. So the question is Ethereum lagging or is it leading? And if it is lagging, that means it could end up playing catch up, which means it could still sell off in a big way. And I think there's basically two levels here also, which is first around about this level where we first bounced in June. You can see over here the activity there. We got this fair value gap here on weekly. We dropped into it, we bounced. Okay, I think at least we retest this and maybe potentially over here this level between 300 and 500 if things really sell off. I think that is something that will still happen before the entire bear market is over. Whether it's going to be this level or this level remains to be seen. And of course, you know, things only start to change if we can reclaim the 200-week moving average and ultimately the 50-week moving average. If we get back above the 50, you can see that is when we get these major bull markets. The thing is though, you can see over here, when this 50 is coming down so steeply, even if we do reclaim the 200 here, it's likely we get rejected first by the 50 and spend several months trading sideways for that moving average to flatten out before we can reclaim it and start a new bull market. In the first week of January, I will upload a detailed video with my expectations for the year ahead for 2023 and my personal strategy. So make sure you are subscribed to be able to not miss that update, because that's going to be a big one and a pretty important one, I think. So quite simply, with Ethereum, we have to at least reclaim the 200-week moving average, and even better, get above 1500 with a weekly close for me to start considering a more bullish scenario. Until then, we are at risk of another sell-off with potentially retesting the June lows, or if that fails to hold, we could go as low as between $300 and $500. Then a quick look at the S&P 500 on the weekly chart. You can see last week we got rejected by the 50-week moving average, which is not a good sign. We had this big red candle to the downside, and while the bulls still have a chance as long as we're above the 200-week moving average, you can see the red off which we bounced, we are now once again getting rejected here by the 50, which is not a good sign. We got rejected over here, and it led to another retest of the 200. We got rejected here so far. So if we head back down and if we break below the 200-week moving average, below this red one, things start to look really bad for the bulls. And that is when we can start to consider a potential serious bear market like 2008, where we get another 50% sell-off. So we have to keep an eye on these averages. This is key. If we can get above this 50, I think the bulls really start to take control, and there is potential for a run back up to the all-time highs, or maybe even new all-time highs. But as long as we're below that, we get rejected. We have to see how this is going to play out, and you can see these averages are going to start to converge and come closer together. So we should get a resolution either way sometime in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 months, where we are going to break above or below one of these two major averages, and that is going to be key, in my opinion, for the next multi-month direction of the stock markets, and of course, as a result, probably also the same direction for cryptocurrencies. The Dow Jones is kind of leading the S&P 500, and it is ahead. It actually broke above the 50-week moving average, as you can see. And as I've shown you before in a previous video, every time this has happened in the past here, over the last years, we have seen new all-time highs. When the price got above it here, we ran up to new all-time highs. Price got above it again, new all-time highs. Price got above it again, new all-time highs. So now is going to be the question, what is going to happen here? And we need to keep an eye on how this develops. If it just pulls back over here and bounces and turns this 50-week into support like it did over here, okay, it doesn't go up in one straight line. You can see it reclaimed it, got back, it bounced on it twice, and then it started to move to a new all-time high. So this is going to be important to watch. If we can stay above this 50-week moving average with weekly closes, of course, it can wick below it. As long as it doesn't close below it, then there is still potential for this to take a run at the all-time highs, or maybe even create new all-time highs. But if we start to close back below with weekly closes below this 50-week moving average, things start to look dangerous for the bulls, and maybe the bears start taking control again. And if we close below the 200-week moving average here in red, things start to get scary for the bulls. And of course, that is when we start to consider a potential repeat of the 2008 crash, or a lot more downside. So keep an eye on these moving averages, set some alerts, and let's see how that ends up playing out. So as I promised in my video last week, I will be giving away $500 in Bitcoin to someone who is subscribed to my channel, liked my last video, and left a comment on my last video. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over here to this random YouTube comment picker. I'm going to put in the YouTube URL. I'm just randomly going to select someone, and that way I will just reach out to you in the comments. So let's try this out. So as you can see, I'm entering the YouTube video URL, and I'm going to click on get YouTube comments over here. There are 193 comments. So let's just start the raffle and pick a random winner and see what happens over here. So congratulations, Jessica. I will reach out to you via the comments and let you know how you can share your address with me so that I can send you the $500 in Bitcoin. So I will be doing more of these raffles in future. If you want to participate, be sure to subscribe to the channel down below. That is the only way you are going to be able to win. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I will see you in the next video.